Well, the current state of emergency due to New Orleans' broken flooding pumping system has many people nervous right now, especially every time it rains. And today, a local civil engineer explains what this all means for you moving forward, what residents need to demand too of their elected leaders. Local civil engineer H.J. Bosworth Jr. and a member of the grassroots group levees.org joins us in studio. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
So as I know you've been keeping close watch on all of this here, and you're watching the contour of the height of hurricane season here. So people are pretty nervous right now. You know, in the past, you see tropical storm, people go, hey, I'm going to stick around. It's not that bad. But given all that's happening right now, the pumps, as a civil engineer, what would you say to people that they could expect if they do decide to stick around?
They expect some street flooding. We have trusted the Sewage and Water Board for years and years and years, and they were the go-to agency when it comes to moving water. When the Dutch had problems in the 50s, they came to the Sewage and Water Board. When Jefferson Parish and St. Bernard built their pump station, they used the Sewage and Water Board models. Now something has happened in the Sewage and Water Board, and the reliability of what they have and the system that they have is in question. And
we saw what happened, obviously, with the major floods on Saturday, August 5th. So if you were to get a tropical storm now sitting over us, based on what is working there right now, would we see about the same or more?
What we had a week and a half ago was very similar to what a tropical storm typically dumps on us. 8 to 10 inches of rain is pretty typical for a tropical storm. Certainly 15 inches of rain is an extraordinary event and not likely to happen in a typical tropical storm. Expect street flooding, expect businesses that are right at the sidewalk level to potentially flood, but then move your cars to higher ground.
But when you throw in that you have the pumps not working at full capacity, not 100%, and you get a real tropical storm, would we have double the amount of what we're seeing when we see images like this? What would you say to people?
I don't think we would have double the trouble we had a week and a half ago. Certainly we could have a lot more, but not double. Let's keep our fingers crossed that the folks hooking up the new generators to the new feeders to all these old pumps do so in a quick and expedient manner.
Let me ask you, we've got a New Orleans mayoral election coming up, and we had a local city leader saying they weren't fully aware of what was going on. So what would you say to people who want to know who to vote for? What should they be demanding of these people to have straight up before we even vote for them in terms of what they would be able to do?
I think it's absolutely essential that backup power generators and backup pumping equipment or backup pumping components be available at all the old stations and all the main stations in the city 24/7. For us to be in this predicament where one generator was down for 5 years and one was down since May and one was down for a month is absurd. And certainly whoever's going to be the new mayor will be the new president of the Sewage and Water Board and should demand accountability and transparency.
Right.
From whoever's
Levees.org, for example, started after Katrina to keep a closer eye on what's happening with our flood protection. So now as you look to the Sewage and Water Board, how much more transparency do you think should be there for citizens to demand?
Oh, there's a lot of transparency that we should have. Really, it would be great if the Sewage and Water Board would publish all the data on all the pumps and whatnot and have that to be available to all the council people and all the council offices so that whenever anyone has a question as to how vulnerable they are, the council people of A, B, C, D, E, and F, and those different districts understand what the risks are, understand what the low areas are. After the flood of 12 years ago, FEMA showed up without even knowing where the deep end was. They had to, grab folks like us to have them understand the geography and the topography of New Orleans because they had no idea. And it would be good for everyone to know, hey, if it's a low area that flooded, how much did you flood?
Just much more information,
yes.
Bottom line. H.J. Bosworth, civil engineer, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Hopefully keep our fingers crossed we're not dealing with another situation in the coming weeks. Thank you.